Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Tiffany, and I'm your host. This is your teacher, Julie. Today, we will learn about social insects.
Today's lesson is titled Social Insects, Ants, and Termites. I can't wait to learn about these fascinating creatures.
By the end of today's lesson, we will be able to explain that most insects live solitary lives, but some, such as ants and termites, are social. Then we will describe how all members of the insect family come from one queen. We will also be able to describe the social behavior of ants in ant colonies. And lastly, we will be able to describe the role of worker ants, males and queens. Let's get started.
Have you ever heard the song, The Ants Go Marching? It goes like this. The ants go marching two by two, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching two by two, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching two by two, the little one stopped to tie his shoe, and they all go marching down, boom, boom, boom. Most of the time we see ants in groups, don't we, Tiffany? That's because they're social insects who live and work together. We already learned about the habits and characteristics of two other insects, honeybees and paper wasps.
I remember learning about honeybees and paper wasps. What made them social insects? Can you name some characteristics of social insects?
Let's put some of those characteristics on our KWL chart. KWL stands for what we know, what we wonder, and what we learn. Let's write down what we know and wonder about social insects on the chart. We know that social insects live and work together in organized communities called... Can you help me out? That's right, they live in colonies. We also know that social insects depend upon each other and cooperate with one another. What do they do together? Let's brainstorm. They gather food, they care for the young, and they care for the queen. Tiffany, is there anything you're wondering about when it comes to social insects?
I know what an ant is, but I don't know what a termite is. What is a termite?
That is a good question. Let's add that. What is a termite? Is there anything else you're wondering about?
What specialized jobs do ants and termites have?
Let's add that too. What else are you wondering?
I wonder how ants and termites are different from paper wasps and honeybees.
How are ants and termites different from honeybees and paper wasps? Great question. Before we begin our read aloud lesson, we're going to review a few vocabulary words. The first vocabulary word we're going to review is aggressive. Say the word with me. Aggressive. This means forceful or ready to attack. Listen to me use it in a sentence. The mother bear became aggressive when she needed to protect her cubs. The next word is chambers. Say the word with me. Chambers. Chambers are empty, enclosed spaces or rooms. Listen to me use it in a sentence. Bees grow and develop in chambers in the hive. Our next word is destructive. Say the word with me. Destructive. Destructive means to cause a large amount of damage or harm. Listen to me use it in a sentence. The destructive puppy chewed up the new sofa. The next word is emit. Say that word with me. Emit. This means to send out or give off. Listen to me use it in a sentence. Fire alarms emit a very loud noise, so people will hear them easily. And our last word is nurseries. Say the word with me. Nurseries. Nurseries are places to breed and care for young animals and plants. Listen to me use it in a sentence. Worker ants feed baby ants in separate chambers or nurseries. Our purpose for learning today is to discover what makes ants and termites social insects like the honeybees and paper wasps.
We will also learn about how they are different. Let's begin our read aloud and get started.
Hi there, everybody. Because I'm one of the most common insects on the planet, I'm sure you know that I'm an ant. But did you realize how much my cousins and I look like a wasp? Take a close look. See how slender or thin our waists are? Mine is usually flexible, making it easy to bend and twist. Count my body parts. You'll see that I have 3, just like all other insects. My head with its long antenna, my thorax, and my abdomen. Here's something you might not know. I have 2 stomachs. Both are located in my abdomen. But one is for my own digestion and the other, called the crop, is just a storage bin where I keep food for other ants. The fact that I store food for other ants should tell you something about me.
What does this tell you about social ants? That's right. They are social insects.
Ants are social insects. We raise and care for our young in ant colonies. There are many different kinds of ants with many different ways of life. Carpenter ants build their nests in wood. Leafcutter ants grow fungus on the leaves they cut in vast or very large underground gardens.
A fungus is a type of living organism, not a plant or animal. Mushrooms form as part of one kind of fungus.
The aggressive weaver ants live in leaves they bind together in trees.
The word aggressive means forceful or ready to attack.
The huge colonies of army ants travel in groups, eating everything in sight. Trapjaw ants can jump distances of more than 12 inches. Harvester ants build huge nest mounds where they store seeds. Beware of the red fire ants. They sting. I am a black garden ant, the type that you may see the most often. So that is the kind of ant I'm going to tell you about today. Like many other ants, we live in underground tunnels or passageways. Bees have honeycombs, paper wasps have paper nests, and we have tunnels, miles and miles of tunnels, full of little chambers or rooms, hundreds of very dark chambers. A colony may have as few as 12 ants or as many as 1 million or more. The center of an ant colony's life is this nest of tunnels. An ant colony begins with the queen. The young queen is born in one colony and leaves that colony to start her own. Her wings carry her into the air to find a mate. Once she mates, she sheds her wings and immediately finds a nesting place underground. There she builds a chamber and seals herself inside to lay her eggs. When ant larvae hatch, the queen cares for the first brood herself, feeding them with her own saliva as they change from worm-like larvae into pupa and finally adults.
The word hatch in this sentence means to come out of an egg. The word hatch can also mean an opening of a ship deck or the floor wall or roof of a building.
The queen does not leave the nest this whole time, getting nutrition from her now useless wing muscles in order to survive. Ants undergo a complete metamorphosis.
What is a metamorphosis? A change. Can you name the 4 stages of complete metamorphosis? Egg, larva, pupa, adult.
Most of the eggs develop into small female worker ants that begin their lifetime of hard work by gathering food for the queen, making sure she is well fed. The queen will never leave the nest again, living there for 10 to 20 years, perhaps even longer. As the mother of the colony, she has her own special chamber. Her only job from this point on is to lay eggs. The worker ants carry the eggs from the queen's chamber into nurseries where they keep the eggs clean and moist by licking them until they hatch.
Nurseries are plants to breed and care for young animals and plants.
The worker ants carry the eggs from the queen's chamber into nurseries where they keep the eggs clean and moist by licking them until they hatch. Then they carry the larvae into separate chambers to feed them.
Nurseries are places to breed and care for young animals and plants.
Black ants eat other insects, any crumbs we can find, and the honeydew of aphids. We chew the food up.
Honeydew is a sugary liquid made by the aphids. The ants collect the honeydew and protect the aphids from its predators.
We chew the food up well and put it in a pouch in our mouths where the liquid is squeezed out of it. We spit out the solid parts and swallow the liquid. Remember, we have two stomachs, one being a crop for storing food, so worker ants can come back to the nest with crops full of food for the young. As soon as they grow, the larvae molt a few times, and after a few weeks, they spin cocoons.
You learned this word molt in a previous lesson. What does it mean when insects molt? They shed their skin to grow.
The worker ants move these newly formed pupae into much drier chambers where they rest until they are ready to gnaw their way out into the world. As social insects, ants cooperate in many ways. When these new workers emerge, some will help care for the queen and larvae, and some will build and repair the tunnels, but others will guard the nest. These guards, called soldier ants, have larger heads and jaws than the other ants, and they place their bodies across the entrance to the nest to defend the colony. All ants, including soldier ants, emit chemical signals that other ants smell with their antennae. Soldier ants use these signals to warn the colony of danger. This is one way that ants communicate or share information.
Emit means to give off.
Another way ants communicate is through touch. If an ant is hungry, it taps a food gatherer lightly with its antenna to let it know that it would like to eat. They exchange the food mouth to mouth in what looks like little kisses. When the food is shared, the ants also share and pass along some chemical information important for the entire colony. If one of us ants gets trapped when the soil around us caves in, we produce a squeaky sound by rubbing joints together, and the other ants hear the cry for help through their legs. Before I leave, I want to introduce you to another social insect that some people mistakenly call white ants. Do you think these look like ants? They're not. They are termites. Termites are closely related to cockroaches, and yet they do not have hard exoskeletons. They are soft-bodied and nearly blind. They would not survive as solitary insects on their own, but they are very successful social insects. There are several differences between termites and other social insects you may have learned about: honeybees, paper wasps, and ants. Termites do not go through as many stages of development. They skip the pupa state, so their metamorphosis is incomplete.
What is it called when insects go through the progression of change? Metamorphosis.
The termite society is a bit different as well. Both the king and queen rule the termite colonies. They start a colony together. The queen is the most important member of the colony, sometimes laying 6,000 or 7,000 eggs a day. She is so well protected by the countless numbers of worker termites that it is almost impossible to find her within the colony. Just in case something should happen to the royal couple, termite colonies include substitute kings and queens as well. Termite workers perform similar jobs to the worker ants, but the job of guarding the colony rests with a small number of soldiers, equipped with long legs and strong, powerful jaws. Unlike honeybees, paper wasps, and ants, where all the workers are female, in termite colonies, both male and female workers are important members of the society. Termites' favorite food is wood. They can be very destructive if they choose to eat through the walls of a house.
Destructive refers to something that causes a large amount of damage or harm.
Depending on where they live, some termite species eat insects, waste materials, and fungus. They build their temperature-controlled nests underground, inside fallen trees, in timber, and in tree branches. Does this look a bit like a wasp nest? I think so. It's made of chewed wood and saliva like the wasp nest, but with added mud and soil. Some termites build mounds above ground to house their colonies. These towering mud structures are as hard as rock, and some are as tall as a two-story house. Lots of teamwork goes into building these mounds with incredible air conditioning systems to keep the chambers cool in very hot climates.
Look at the man standing next to that termite mound. See how high the mound is compared to him?
Next time, you'll hear from an insect that glows in the dark. Until then, be thinking about who that might be. Now that we have read about ants and termites, let's see what you remember. Try to answer my questions in a complete sentence. Tiffany will demonstrate first. Okay, Tiffany. Are ants and termites social or solitary insects?
Ants are social insects.
She used a complete sentence to answer. You try this one. The author of this read aloud made the statement that ants are social insects. What reasons or facts did the author give to support this statement?
The author stated that ants live and work together cooperatively in colonies with specialized jobs.
Which ant colony is the one from which all other ants come?
All ants come from the queen ant.
Where do ants build their nests?
Ants build their nests in underground tunnels.
Queen bees and wasps lay their eggs in cells within their nest. Where do queens lay their eggs?
They build a special chamber in the underground tunnel and seal themselves inside to lay eggs.
How often does the queen ant leave her nest?
The queen never leaves the nest. After she mates, she loses her wings. She lays eggs with the same nest, never leaving for the remainder of her life, 10, 20, or more years.
How is this different from the queen wasp?
The queen wasp retains her wings and leaves her nest each season, beginning a new colony after winter of hibernation.
Both honeybees and ants have clever ways of carrying food back to their nests. What are they?
Honeybees' hairy legs act like baskets to carry pollen. Ants have an extra stomach or crop for storage.
Okay, name some ways that termites are different from ants.
Termites have incomplete metamorphosis, whereas ants are complete. Termites have multiple kinds of queens, whereas ants only have one queen. Male termites serve the hive in many ways, whereas the only role of a male ant is to mate with the queen.
Let's think, pair, share. You may find a partner for this activity. It could be your mom, dad, sister, brother, or friend. And if you don't have a partner, you can use us. I'm going to ask a question, and I'll give you a minute to think about the question. And then I will ask you to turn to your neighbor and discuss the question. Many people stack firewood on their wooden porches so that it is handy to transport into the house to make fires when it's cold outside. Given what you know about a termite's eating habits, do you think this is a good idea? Why or why not? Turn to your partner and tell them your answer. From our read aloud, we learned that termites' favorite food is wood. If termites get onto the wood and the wooden porch, they might eat through the porch and get transported into the house. Termites can be very destructive if they eat through the walls of a house. Wow, this read aloud has given us so much information about ants and termites. When reading and listening, we heard termites can be very destructive if they choose to eat through the walls of a house. Say the word destructive with me.
Destructive.
If something is destructive, it causes a great amount of damage or harm. Hurricanes can be very destructive storms. Can you think of something that's destructive? Try to use the word destructive when you tell about it. Here's an example. The destructive hurricane tore our fence down. Let's do an antonyms activity. I'm going to say a word that is the opposite of destructive. That word is constructive. Constructive refers to something that is helpful or making something better. I'm going to describe some scenarios. If what I describe is something that's destructive or causes harm, say that is destructive. If what I describe is something that is constructive or helpful, say that is constructive. The engineer built a new bridge over the river.
That is constructive.
I helped my little sister learn to tie her shoe.
That is constructive.
Very good. The puppy chewed through my mother's new shoes.
That is destructive.
That is destructive. Great job. The ocean wave destroyed the sandcastle I built on the beach.
That is destructive.
That's right. We helped plant flowers in the garden.
That is constructive.
Nice job. Okay, let's review what we've learned. We learned that ants and termites are social insects. They live in colonies where they do special jobs with other ants and termites. Social insects depend upon and cooperate with one another, gathering food, caring for young, and caring for the queen. All members of social insect colony come from one queen. And finally, we learned the male ants mate with the queen, who lays all the eggs, while the female worker ants care for and feed the queen. Look how much we learned today, Tiffany. I had such a great time being your teacher today. All rights and credits from this lesson belong to Core Knowledge Language Arts. We would like to thank them publicly for sharing these materials. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Share what you've learned today. Tell someone at home about social insects.